The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good morning, Dallas-Fort Worth. Welcome to another Ask the Expert show. I am your host, Steve-O. I got to say something because I got an email the other day from a gentleman who listens to the show in Corsicana. And he said, you always say Dallas-Fort Worth, but I'm in Corsicana and I listen to your show every week. So welcome, Corsicana. Also, knowing that we were going to be doing our show this morning on Medicare, I got just a nice letter that I don't think I've ever asked our experts this question before, but let me introduce you to them. The ladies of your Medicare gals, Lynn Tim and Sharon Luker. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Steve.
Morning.
Sharon.
Now listen to Sharon. She is ready to go.
I'm a morning person.
Oh, I love it. So I got to tell you, I hope I don't get in trouble for this. I have a family member that handles my Medicare. And sometimes that's not the best way to go. I have to tell you, we've been doing the show over a year. I have learned so much about Medicare that I didn't learn from my relative. And that's the way it should be. Whoever is your agent should have you totally educated on Medicare. And we got a letter the other day, and it said, "Why is Medicare so good to have?" Now, I couldn't think of two better people to ask that to than you two, rather than my cousin. So, first of all, I want you to introduce yourself and your background. Lynn, why don't you start first?
Hey, good morning, everybody. My name is Lynn Tim, and I am a health insurance agent. I'm independent. I have been in the industry since 2009. I was a former financial advisor, and I began specializing in Medicare and health insurance in 2013, I believe. So I've been doing this about 10 years, and I've helped hundreds of people transition to Medicare. And Sharon is my partner in your Medicare gals. So I'll let her introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Sharon Luker. And Lynn and I have kind of a similar background. I was a former financial advisor too, so we know a lot in that area. And I have been in the financial services world for probably about 30 years. And I've been doing Medicare probably for 15 of those years. I am on Medicare. I kind of know how it works. When you talk to Lynn or myself, you're with some pros. We are detailed people and we really know how it works.
Well, I got to tell you, my hat's off to you because you two really do know your trade. Let us answer the question that our viewer had. Why is it important? What is important about Medicare?
You want me to go, Lynn?
Sure.
I want to hear from both of you. Whoever wants to start.
Okay. My 2 cents. And we're going to say the same thing, I'm sure. So
Okay.
when you turn 65, basically Medicare is your health insurance. Unless you are on a group plan, you're still working and you're on a company plan, unless you have a retiree plan. If you don't have any of those plans associated with this, you must be on Medicare, because Medicare pays your health insurance. If you do not have Medicare, you go to the hospital, you're going to have to write a check. So it's crucial that you understand how Medicare works and that you be on it when you need to be on it.
That's so true. And we need to remember why Medicare came about. In 1965, there was a huge percentage. I don't remember the exact number, but it's maybe like 50% of the seniors in the United States did not have health insurance. So there were a lot of people that, left their jobs or retired and didn't have health insurance. So Medicare filled a huge need in taking care of our seniors. So it's you've paid into Medicare your whole life. It's time for you to take advantage of what you've paid to get when you're ready to retire or when you turn 65. And the coverage is great. I mean, you hear all sorts of things about Medicare, but where else can you get hospitalization for zero cost if you've paid in 40 quarters, during your working lifetime? So it's wonderful. And a lot of people that are aging into Medicare are coming off very expensive insurance. So health insurance is very high for people in their 50s and 60s, and coming off even group insurance is very high for most people now. So when you age into Medicare, if you're paying the standard Medicare fee for Part B, which is $174 this year, that's a pretty good deal. And then you add some supplemental coverage to that, and you've got lots of options for that. So Medicare, I always tell people when they get their card, congratulations, this is going to be great. You're going to love it. So there's lots to be excited about when you're aging into Medicare.
Totally agree.
And I got to tell you, I can give you a list starting from 2 major knee replacements and not getting a bill for it, or just going to the optical doctor and having them prescribe glasses to me, and I had a whole separate account that paid for that.
Yes, lots of great coverage with Medicare. And let's not forget, if you're on original Medicare, you can go to any provider in the United States that takes Medicare. So that is pretty much almost all the hospitals. There's not very many hospitals that don't take Medicare. If you travel, if you move around, if you have a second home, that plan goes with you, and it gives you a lot of freedom.
One thing, Steve, I think we should talk about. Sorry, one thing I think we should talk about is what Medicare does not cover. Okay.
Oh.
So as much as we love Medicare, it doesn't cover everything. And people need to understand that. And then they need to come in and supplement it with certain policies. A big one, 2 of the big ones are dental. It doesn't cover dental. And with dental expenses, implants. So if you get one implant, it'll run you about $5,000, $6,000, from what people tell me. I heard someone tell me the other day it was $3,000, but that's still a lot of money. So you want to look at dental plans. And the other big thing that people think that Medicare covers, and it does not, is what we call long-term care. The term is custodial care. If you have to go into a facility like a nursing home or assisted living, unless it's a rehab type situation, it will not cover that. And depending where you are in the country, we're in Dallas, Fort Worth, where our facilities are fairly cheap, but it'll run you $5, $6, $7,000 a month. So it's important you understand what Medicare covers and what it doesn't cover.
I just want to touch on one other thing. I am a HMO, and my girlfriend is a PPO. She loves her plan and doesn't like mine. I love my plan and I don't like hers. Explain the difference.
Well, so your Medicare supplemental coverage is very individualized. So what's good for you is not good for your girlfriend, right? So when we talk about an HMO and PPO, that refers to network coverage. So an HMO has more restrictions. You have to choose a primary care doctor. It has to be in the network. And if you need to go see a specialist, you're going to need to get a referral from your primary care doctor to go see that specialist. So HMOs can have lower costs overall, though. So your co-pays, your co-insurance, your out-of-pocket costs are lower with an HMO in general because the insurance company can manage your care a little bit better because they're working with specific contracted providers and they've got a negotiated rate. So overall, your cost to the insurance company is a little bit lower with an HMO in most cases. With a PPO, still you still have a network, but it will give you some coverage if you go out of network, and you don't have to get referrals to see the specialist that you choose. So your costs are always going to be lower in a PPO or an HMO if you stay in the network. But with a PPO, it's going to give you coverage if you need to go out of network, where an HMO will not, unless it's an emergency situation.
So Steve, one thing to note is, so people don't get confused, this HMO PPO only comes into play if you have a Part C Advantage plan. If you do not have an Advantage plan, if you go with original Medicare, Parts A and B, and you purchase a Medicare supplement plan, none of that applies. There is no network. There is no HMO. There is no PPO. So people that don't want to deal with that, they can buy a Medicare supplement and not have to deal with the networks. And the Advantage plans are designed to be somewhat like insurance prior to 65, because those of us, when you had insurance before you aged into Medicare, there were PPOs, there were HMOs, there were co-pays, max out of pockets and everything. And that's what that's all about. The other thing I will say, HMO versus PPO, if you travel a lot, the HMO may be constrictive. You may only have emergency care when you travel versus going original Medicare with a Med Sup. It doesn't really matter. So the first choice you make is, do you want a Medicare supplement? Do you want an Advantage plan? And then if you decide Advantage plan is the best way to go, then you start looking at the HMOs and the PPOs. And I have found around here that there are some doctors that will take an insurance company's, say Aetna, their PPO, but not their HMO. So you also have to watch what your hospitals and what your insurance company, what doctors take, which plans.
That's what I love about you too, because the questions that you ask really determines which way they should go. I was never asked those questions, but just about the hospital. I mean, you'd like to be close to a hospital in your area. I found that with me, the HMO, I've been very lucky with the doctors that are provided to me, whereas my girlfriend wants to be able to choose the doctor.
Right. And like you said, it's very individualized care, and what's good for, your relative, your spouse, your neighbor, is may not be the best choice for you. When you're choosing a Medicare Advantage plan, it's really important to work with an independent agent because someone like Sharon and myself, we're not going to be pushing a certain carrier or a certain plan. We're going to,
Right.
do our interview with our client. We're going to find out their specific needs and their situation and help choose the plan that includes their doctors, covers their medications well, gives them the services that they want. So if someone signs up through, say, a call center, and I'm not saying all call centers are bad because they're not, there's some good ones, but there are also some that may be just pushing one specific carrier. And you want to be aware of all your options if you're going to go the Medicare Advantage route.
This show is so special to me because I was one of those people who were self-employed.
Yeah, I think Lynn's point is well taken in that, sorry, Steve, are you there?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I think we're having little audio issues. Okay, so if you're dealing with someone, be it an agent or someone who's called you on the phone, if they don't ask questions about your doctors, your hospitals, your medications, if they don't ask specific questions about you, they are not choosing the plan that's best for you. End of story.
Oh, I totally agree. What's so important about the show is I actually went through. I knew nothing about Medicare, nothing. And here I am, 65. I should have known about it by then. I should have been educated by then. And I know there's a lot of people out there like me who didn't know. So when should a person start looking into Medicare? At what age?
So, Steve, 65 is the time that most people are eligible for Medicare, unless they're on disability, and then they're eligible for Medicare after being on disability for 2 years. But in general, most people are eligible for Medicare when they are turning 65. And there's an initial enrollment period of 7 months, which begins 3 months prior to the month they turn 65. Now, they're going to start getting bombarded with information probably 6 months to a year, sometimes before they turn 65. So what happens is people get overwhelmed because, they may be within 6 months of their birthday and thinking, oh my gosh, I've got a whole stack of mail that's telling me I need to do this plan, or I need to do this, I need to do that. And everybody's giving them information. Some of it's correct, some of it's incorrect. But there's a lot of, turning 65 may not be when you sign up for Medicare if you're still working. What if you're contributing to an HSA? There's a lot of situations that might defer your enrollment in Medicare, or may just defer your enrollment in part of Medicare, which would be Part B, in general, if you're still working and decide you want to stay on your group plan. So that's where someone like Sharon and myself come in handy, because we know and understand all of those enrollment windows. There are penalties associated for not signing up for parts of Medicare when you're first eligible. So we're aware of those. And let's remember that when you turn 65, if you're not going to start Social Security, which most people aren't because they're not full retirement age this year at 65, then Medicare is not going to contact you. Social Security is not going to contact you and enroll you automatically. So you have to be proactive in knowing when your correct enrollment window is and when you're ready for that transition to Medicare.
So Sharon, what if I'm turning 65 and still working? Will I get penalized if I don't sign up for Medicare, even though I'm still working?
So if you're still working and you want to stay, when you turn 65, you can make a decision. If you're working and you're on your employer's plan and you like it, you can keep going. Okay. And you do not have to sign up for Part A and B at that time. You do have to sign up when you leave your employer plan, but you don't have to sign up if you've got an employer plan. Now, you have the option. Sometimes Medicare is cheaper than staying on your employer plan. So you can sign up, but you do not have to. And then, like Lynn was saying, a lot of people will sign up for Part A and not Part B because there's a premium for Part B. But if you're contributing to a HSA or a health savings account, and Lynn and I deal a lot with financial advisors and the professionals in town, and a lot of their clients contribute to an HSA as a retirement savings, then you cannot get the deduction. So it really depends, but you don't have to sign up if you're on a group plan. You can avoid the penalties.
What about, can I sign up for COBRA if I leave my employer's health plan?
Well, you can, but you can only stay on COBRA for a certain amount of months. So Medicare basically gives you 8 months after you leave your employment to transition over to Medicare. So yes, you could be on COBRA for a while, but let's remember COBRA is extremely expensive. So I would compare the cost of COBRA with what it would cost to move over to Medicare, because it might save you a heck of a lot of money.
Yeah, so I just was doing that yesterday with a client. Now I look at it, so they were in the middle of treatment. They had already met their deductible. Okay. So but they're still getting care. So I'd say, let's stay on COBRA. Here's the problem, Steve, is that, like Lynn said, you have 8 months before you can sign up for Part B without a penalty. But COBRA can go 18 months. So people go on COBRA, they're paying the premium, they snooze, and they go past the 8 months. They think they can go on for 18 months, which they can. But if you go past that 8 months, then now you're going to have the Part B penalty at 10% per year. You're going to have the Part B penalty and Part D. So COBRA is good for certain situations, and it is expensive, but it just depends on the situation. I personally try to tell people to stay away from it because there's potholes that you can fall into, but there are times where it's best to go on it.
You know, we've only got about 4 minutes left, and I love saving this question for the last. And I really hope that both of you will address it. Why should I have you as an agent?
Well, I'll start. Because we're really good. We know our stuff.
You are.
We've been around the block. We didn't, I mean, we can, when someone calls me up, they're all discombobulated because they have all this mail and they've read everything and their head is spinning. And Lynn and I can just cut to the chase. We can make it very simple. Here's your situation. You have choice A or B. If you go A, this is your other choices. And the thing is, we know a lot of things. We keep up on the laws, like I was just reading today about the Part D drug changes in 2024, which I was going to talk about. But we keep up with the laws. You can't keep up with the laws. I don't know. I constantly get told, I don't know how people do it without talking to an agent or talking to you.
Absolutely. Lynn?
Yeah, and the last thing, everything Sharon said, and there's no cost to work with us. So we're independent. We're just going to do what is best for you and help you find the right solution. So I think, you need to work with a professional. If it's not us, then find a good independent agent to help you.
How do people get a hold of you?
We never know what we're going to recommend going into it. When someone calls, we don't have a set plan. We never know. It depends on the situation. And when Lynn says independent, what that really means is that we represent many different insurance companies. So insurance company A may be better for the husband, but insurance company B may be better for the wife or the partner. Everyone's individual on Medicare. I don't even know how people get through it properly without working with a professional.
Let's give everybody your phone number.
I'm 972-596-1318, Sharon Luker.
And I'm Lynn Tim,
And Lynn?
214-762-4247. And go to our website, yourmedicaregals.com. All of our information and contact info is there as well.
I love you too. I got to tell you, I have walked the walk, and I'm telling you, you are the best. You'll be back again with us next month on the Ask the Expert show. Thanks so much, ladies.
Thanks, everybody. Good to see you, Steve.
Bye.
Good to see you. That
Bye-bye.
is your Medicare gals. They are amazing, and I really have something to compare them to. They're just a world of information. Well, that'll do it for us today. We'll be back again with you next week with more Ask the Experts. Thank you, Rebel.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.